Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. The best way to defeat your neighbor is to outsmart him, which is what our OP did in the first story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Neighbor won't turn his floodlights off. Some years ago, we had some new neighbors move in next door. Nice enough people, but we had a problem with them. The husband traveled a lot and his wife was afraid of just about everything. The dark, thunderstorms, you name it. The problem was the floodlights over the garage doors. She would leave them on all night, every night. Even though you couldn't see them from inside of their house, they were positioned just so that they would shine into our bedroom at night. We weren't able to block them effectively with our curtains. We asked them politely several times if they could turn them off at night since they serve no effective purpose. They adamantly refused. I offered to pay for a timer that would control them. No way they would consider it. I thought about taking the bulbs out, shooting them out with my pellet gun, etc. The solution that I arrived at was to simply loosen them up enough so that they wouldn't come on. Since they couldn't see them from the inside of the house, it was about 5 to 6 months before they realized they weren't working. They screwed them back in. I waited a couple of weeks and unscrewed them again. Another few months went by. Finally, one day, my neighbor asked me if I ever had any trouble with my outdoor lights. I told him yes, as a matter of fact, I did. I said they would loosen up occasionally and I'd have to retighten them. I blamed it on vibration from the traffic on our street. He said he had the same problem. I told him that I finally just gave up and left them off. He eventually did the same. We were happy with the final outcome, and we were able to keep peace in the neighborhood. And our second story. Do not disturb me under any circumstances? Okay, you got it. I'd just been hired as an administrative assistant at a large antiquarian store/auction house in a small city in New England. The owners, my bosses, were a husband and wife team who I'll refer to as he boss and she boss. It was a small crew of employees, a couple of furniture movers, the person who did furniture restorations and clock repair, an appraiser, an accountant, a woman who sold custom lampshades, and me. This was a time way back in the dark ages, when a company had to pay through the nose for long-distance phone calls. She boss had her desk in the middle of the sales floor where she could keep an eye on everything. She had a standing order that under no circumstances was I to take a message from someone calling from out of state. I was to let her know that the out-of-state caller was on the phone so she wouldn't have to call the person back and incur the long-distance charges. That made sense. It was an understandable directive, with which I complied. These two were difficult people to work for, though. I never seemed to be able to please them. At one point, the company was holding the largest auction of antiquities that they had ever done. The catalog was immense, and people were calling from all over the country to ask she-boss questions about specific items. When these calls came in, I immediately notified her, and she always took the calls. Then a very important, wealthy client came in and asked for a personal preview of the auction. She-boss said to me, "Under no circumstances am I to be disturbed while I'm with this client." She then disappeared with the client into the auction hall. It was coming on afternoon, which meant that the West Coast was just starting their day. During the roughly 2 hours that she-boss was with the client, I took something like 40 messages for her from the various places like LA, Seattle, San Francisco, Boulder, as well as New York City, DC, etc. My workspace was on the second floor where there was a balcony that ran around 2 sides overlooking the very large sales floor. I generally kept my door to the balcony closed because the echoing volume of the sales floor made it hard to hear on the telephone. When she-boss finally came out of her meeting with the client, she saw the very thick stack of messages that were left on her desk. The unintelligible screech that resulted was damaging to my ears, and presumably those of everyone else in the building. I had no choice but to open my door and look out over the balcony down to the distorted, red-splotched face of she-boss as she proceeded to curse at me worse than I'd ever been chewed out before. She demanded to know why I had taken all of these messages from out-of-state callers and threatened to take the cost of returning the calls out of my paycheck. I replied, "You told me that you were not to be disturbed. It's not my fault that you can't remember what you've ordered people to do." Needless to say, I didn't last much longer at that job. I don't know why, but working with a married couple is always a effing nightmare. I'd advise anyone to consider that a major red flag before joining a business. And our last story. Mother starts screaming at me for calling CPS on her. Karma fell like a bus on her. My mother is a woman, and obligatory, a parent, who thinks she's entitled to do what she wants to her children, which means that my little brother and I were psychologically, emotionally, and sometimes physically abused as little kiddos. I was held in her house all day with her, and I wasn't allowed to go anywhere except school, so I couldn't escape, which means I haven't experienced the real world until recently. The abuse has lasted for about 13 years until I finally found the courage to put my balls on the dinner table and verbally hold my ground against my mom and protect my small being of a brother. I also started to educate him on the proper way, like how to set boundaries and not take crap off people who overstep them. Bonus points, mother wasn't pleased. For a couple of months, everything was going as smoothly as it could, and then the old coronavirus hit and we were told to stay locked together. And oh dear mother took advantage of us being within her arm's reach to start a whole new sequel of her bullcrap. In the span of a few months with her, I reached my limits and called CPS, and for some obscure reason, she got the news. Now, let's make a proper introduction of the entitled parent of the day. EM, the self-proclaimed good mother, my birther. Me, hell yeah, that's me. SB, my small bean, my little bro. But the story will mainly be focused around me and EM. Now let's get the party started. I just got released from the hospital. I was there for a whole other story, and I called CPS while in the comfort of my not-so-good-looking hospital bed. I'm at the front door of my mom's house, ready to get my butt beaten. I opened the door, and there I found my mom, drunk off her butt on her sofa, hellfire in her eyes. I swear I could feel the heat from the doorway. She gets up and walks over to me with all her dignity left and spits out, "I'm so mad at you right now." Now, I don't like the tone she was using, so I guess I didn't think too much before responding. And so am I. Now, say what you want to say to my face before I turn my back on you. Please note that while I was mad AF in this conversation, I tried my best to be civil and act like a decent human being. I didn't want to say anything that might end up in a physical fight. She wouldn't win, but I don't want to beat up some old small lady because, nope, unlike EM, I have values. At that point, she's getting more and more agitated, spouting some incoherent phrases I still don't understand to this day. EM just storms out of the room to pour herself another glass while screaming, "We can't even beat our own effing kids these days, and I'm my own child, and now it's telling everyone I'm a bad mother?" Incoherent stuttering. "Is that what you want now, to ruin my life?" Ah yes, the typical, "Oh, I'm a bad mother." You know the sentence they use to guilt trip their kids into feeling bad for her? That's the one, yep, doesn't work on me anymore. "You ruined my childhood and hurt SB. We'll be even." She then proceeded to throw a fist against the table next to my blunt A-self. "What did I do to you, huh? Say it." Okay, let's start with, "Oh, don't you dare talk back to me. I'm your mother. I'm telling you that you're lying." "Oh, does that make you angry, that I have a voice and a conscious mind? I know you stopped loving your children when they started to speak their mind. No, it's because you are my kids and I get to do what I want with you. I fed and put a roof over your heads. Isn't that enough?" She suddenly changes the subject as if it actually became clear to her that she was running out of arguments. "So what did you say to CPS? I want to know now what lies you fed them, you ungrateful child." Her face turned even redder when I decided not to respond to her question immediately. She knows what she did, so there's no secrets. Note that I'm also making a crappy but smug smile while maintaining the silence just to rile her up a bit more. And now, ladies and gentlemen, and all genders included, this is where things really go to crap. Well, first I told them about your alcoholism. That was enough to attract their attention to you. I took a picture of your empty bottles of alcohol as proof. I also have recordings of you insulting and menacing SB recently. I also told them about the abuse you had us go through when we were little kids. You're merely getting what you deserve. Oh, so now I'm not allowed to educate my children? How dare you record me without my consent? I knew I should have hit you harder, like back in my days, so you wouldn't become a rebel. Ain't gonna lie, what she just said really hurt me right in the feelings. But I didn't back down. I couldn't for the sake of my sanity, and because I wanted to show EM who I am. A bit of revenge never hurts, right? Yeah, sure. You know what? Let's see what CPS thinks of this. I didn't do anything to you. You're just an oversensitive, spoiled brat. You tell lies to everyone to make me feel bad. Blurred speech. I don't speak Karen, nor drunk. I decided to quickly cut her to make a point. The final one. I now have enough proof to make everything stop, to make the pain she inflicts to us end. I'm going to make this clear. We're done. I'm done. I'm currently recording all of your crap talking. Karma is finally coming for you. We're done, I said, loud and clear before showing her the red button on my screen so she could see the proof of how bad of a freaking maniac human being she is. She drops her glass on the table, stares at me in utter disbelief as I hold my phone up, the red button still pulsing to indicate it's still up and going. 10 seconds passes while her brain restarts, and she then immediately bursts the front door open and storms out. I see SB open his bedroom door a couple minutes after all this bullcrap. He was crying. He all but just ran up to me to ask, "Are you okay? Did she hurt you? Are we getting help? Where did EM go? She's gonna get hurt outside." I don't know why SB was so adamant to know about EM's whereabouts and general safety. I think he just has a golden heart. I wanted to cry with him at that very moment, but I needed to stay strong for SB. Don't worry about her. She'll come back, unfortunately. Let's make dinner for ourselves. You want pasta? And this is where my story ends. Ended making pasta for my little bro and I. I don't even speak Karen. That right there made my life entirely. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.